This video is brought to you by Recurrent, an essential EV tool that gives free access to TFL EV viewers in the US. With Recurrent, EV shoppers can check range and battery info on used cars. EV owners can connect to compare their range and battery health to similar vehicles. And EV sellers can use Recurrent to get more money for their sales. With Recurrent, we can find, drive, and sell electric cars positively. Click on the link in the description below to get free access to Recurrent's amazing EV tools.
Hey guys, check it out. I'm here with the brand new Jeep Wagoneer S, and this is of course Jeep's very first electric car, at least here in Chicago. In this video, me and my buddy Steve, who's behind the camera. Say hi, Steve.
Hey, Roman.
I'm here in Chicago because we just ran a 5K, so we're a little tired, but Jeep was kind enough to loan me the Wagoneer S, so I thought, let's review it and let's talk about it. So Steve, let's start where we always start, and that is with the styling. Now, you know this is a Jeep because it still has the traditional 7-slotted grille, as you can see. Of course, those slots are much smaller. They're much more stylized. And this is the last Jeep design that my friend Mark Allen did before he retired. And I gotta say, it's a handsome looking car. You kind of think it looks like a station wagon.
It does.
It's got that kind of long, sloping back. It's obviously a crossover, but it does look a little station wagon-y. I also like the fact that once upon a time, this would have been called the Midnight Edition, and that's because, of course, everything is blacked out. So I love this kind of beautiful, vibrant blue with the dark black. It's a really nice color combination, especially with the black wheels. By the way, those are Falcons riding on 20s, which is a fairly good size wheel and tire combo. So overall, I think probably the strongest point for me is the design of the car. It is a very sharp looking car, but I do have one bone to pick. You know what that is, Steve?
What is it, Roman?
Isn't Jeep supposed to be an off-roader?
I think so.
I mean, not since the Trackhawk was there one that is so on-road dedicated. I mean, there's nothing about this that says we're going to go off-road. This is about as on-roady as you can get. And perhaps that's because, of course, this is, here in America, the first all-electric Jeep. In Europe, they've had electric Jeeps for a while. We still have CCS and not NACS. And I have to tell you, it's got a pretty good sized battery. It's 100 kilowatts, which is big. And you pay for that. And I'll tell you that at the end of the video, how much this thing costs, because it ain't cheap. But you do pay for that 100 kilowatt hour battery. Now, I did have to charge it last night. So real world experience, when I plugged it in at 43%, at EA at a 350 Ultra charger, it was sucking down about 178 kilowatts, which is okay. Isn't horrible. In general, I think my favorite part is this giant spoiler, because this does have, if you come around here, Steve, you can kind of show it. It does have this slope back, which is, sexy, but you don't really see it because they put this giant spoiler. They kind of hid the fact that it is more of a coupe shape than a traditional SUV or crossover. All right, let me pop the back, show you how much room there is. So double click this. And it's a good size. You would think because of the sloping back you lose some room, which of course you do, but for what this is, there is enough room in here. You got a kind of a 80-20 split for the back seat. In general, it's what you would expect for a vehicle this size. If you have a family of like 20, it's probably not going to be for you. But if you're an empty nester or a young urban professional, then this is good. Under here we have the charger, and I think that's a subwoofer. And then of course there is a little bit of an Easter egg here that says established in 1963. You know what's important about 63, Steve?
No, Roman. What is it?
It's the year I was born.
Oh.
And
Thank Jeep for that.
Yeah. It's an old brand. The other cool thing is, I don't know if this is cool, but most electric lowering tailgates have a button here or here. With the Stellantis products, it's always here, which is fine, but I always forget, so I'm always trying to push it here somewhere. So let's see how much room is in the back seat. Once you go around, and I'll get in. So let's see how I fit. Keep in mind, 6'2", and I'm sitting behind myself, and it's surprisingly roomy, I gotta say. I am liking the back seat. It's comfortable. The head cushion, if 1 were soft as a pillow and 10 were Silverado rock hard, I'd give this like a 6 maybe. It's not that soft, but it's not that rock hard. I think this front one's a little bit better. You do have some nice amenities, 2 USB-C ports right there. You have heated and chilled seats in the back, which is very nice, if I might be so bold as to say. This giant panoramic sunroof that has a shade that can cover it so you're not boiling in the summer. And I think Jeep has done a really good design both on the exterior and on the interior with design. It's modern yet functional yet sleek, and those are 3 hard things to combine. All right, let's jump in the front and talk about the front. And this is kind of where it starts to fall apart. And I don't know about you guys, but I am so over all the big screens, and this car has a lot of big screens. So let me start it up and I will show you how many screens it has. It has not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 screens, and then if you consider the rearview mirror screen, actually 5 screens. And Compton, Steve, let's talk about this. Let me ask you, if you were sitting in this car, would you actually use this, or would you use your phone?
I would use my phone.
Yeah, I think a lot of people would use their phone. You can do things like, of course, control the audio, you can control the navigation from that screen, but in general, I think I would just use my phone because, well, that's what I do 99% of the time. The other thing that has gotten a little complicated is that once upon a time, Uconnect, their infotainment system was very straightforward, but now there are menus within menus within menus, and we had some issues with this car. First and foremost, it would warn you every time you'd come up on a speeding camera, which is great unless you don't know that that's what's doing you. So out of the blue would just start to beep, and then it took me forever to figure out where to turn that off, of course, because it isn't aware. Then the second thing it has, it's got a heads-up display, and unlike GM, there's no hard buttons to move the heads-up display up or down, so I was only seeing half of it, so we spent a pretty good long time figuring out what that is. I suppose these are problems that if you own the car, once you figured it out, you would know, but there's just a lot of screenage and a lot of various functionality that is hard to control. Now, for instance, when you get in on a hot date, it thoughtfully turns on the chilled seats, but if I don't want that, I have no clue where to turn that off. My favorite button is probably this one right there, which gets you into CarPlay right away. Sorry, CarPlay right away. Yes, I'm listening to Sade, please forgive me. It's my old guilty pleasure. But the nice thing, of course, about CarPlay or Android Auto is that it's always the same, and so you know where it is. No physical buttons here. You do have physical buttons on the steering wheel. You do have a rotary gear selector. Now, you would think that that would be, on a lot of cars, that would be a park button, but in this car, it's not. It's actually the on and off switch. So at first, I was not putting it in park manually. I was just pushing that, which turned the car off, which caused a lot of consternation. You also have, in this case, purple lighting along here, which, you know, is of course changeable, but I just don't have the bandwidth to go in and figure out where to change that. You do have auto hold, which I love. That allows you to basically not have to keep your foot on the brake, but for some reason often this and the regeneration, which you can also set to maximum somewhere in there, defaults, at least in regeneration, back to like the basic mode, so you got to hit it every time you get in the vehicle. And I always find that to be very frustrating. If I set it, leave it there. I think it has to do with fuel economy, or in this case, you know, how much energy you're burning. And if you're curious, it's actually doing really well. I'm at 3.6 miles per, I gotta see, you can see right there, I'm at 3.6 miles per kilowatt hour, which is really good, considering that, for instance, the Ford Lightning we had was more like 1.5 miles per kilowatt hour, and the Hummer EV was like 1.2 miles per kilowatt hour. Teslas are right around 3. So in terms of like efficiency, it's actually doing very well. Shall we take it for a ride?
Let's do it.
We do have different, last thing I want to show you is we do have different modes. We have snow, sand, eco, auto, and sport, but most tellingly there is no off-road mode. And then this is also frustrating. I hate when they put the phone charger kind of out of the way. I know you're not supposed to look at the phone, but I'm always kind of fiddling with it, trying to get it in there, and then half the time I do get it in there, it doesn't charge. Is that the false phone, or is that the system phone faults? Is that the system not being able to charge the phone? I don't know. The outcome is it doesn't work much of the time. Now, there is a price to be paid. This is the first edition, and if you look down here, you can see the total cost: $170, basically $3,000 with a $2,000 destination fee. That's a lot of money. That is a lot of money for a relatively small electric vehicle that competes with cars like the Tesla Model Y, which would be significantly less expensive. And then I always think the cars have gotten too expensive. Don't you agree, Steve?
I agree.
Yeah, and so, for instance, we just reviewed the new Ford Expedition, which is in that same ballpark, and you just get a lot more vehicle with that. You get a 3-row on and off-roader. So I guess you could say, if you point the camera to the Rivian over here, you could kind of say that in some ways it might compete against that if you're in an electric vehicle world, but still, it's $72,000. Oof. And unfortunately, Stellantis, which also owns Dodge and of course Jeep, has not helped themselves by severely increasing the price of vehicles during COVID and then into the chip shortage. And I think they've kind of left themselves on a branch that's about to break in terms of pricing. And so far, out of all of the major manufacturers, they have probably struggled the most with electrification. They just don't seem to understand their core customers in a lot of ways, especially not Dodge. And let's face it, the new Dodge Charger 6-pack, the Hurricane-powered one, is probably going to sell, whereas the electric one isn't selling. And I kind of feel like while Jeep isn't quite as hardcore brotherhood of muscle, it still is a brand that is based on the Wrangler, and a lot of the Wrangler guys and gals are more, well, I'm going to say it, internal combustion ICE folk than they are electric folk. Now, there are some nice things to this Jeep. You want to put your head back a little bit, Steve?
Sure.
I'm going to put it in sport mode, and as soon as we get around this corner, I'm going to just give it a little squirt of power. And this does have a lot of acceleration. I went on the launch of this, and if I get this wrong, correct me, but I want to say that this is 0 to 60 in the 3s. And I could probably confirm that, because I can usually tell by my butt dyno. So nobody behind me, and we're going to just squirt. Oh yeah.
Wow.
We just did a 4-wheel burnout.
Holy cow.
I know. So if you're our brotherhood of electric muscle, this is the car to get. And that is the good part about this car, because somebody at Jeep decided to let this thing off the leash when you put it into sport mode. And oh my gosh, was that fun.
That was great.
I mean, yeah, you got 20s that are now basically leaving 2 sets of 11s going down the road here. So that is the good thing about this Jeep. It is mighty quick. The other thing I like about it is that it's a nice tidy package. It's kind of like that Goldilocks, where it's not too big, not too small, super easy to park, super easy to maneuver. In general, it's kind of the right size, at least for me and for my needs. The other thing I like, look at this, Steve, real controls, they're not hidden somewhere. Oh, thank you, Jeep, for doing that, for making my life much easier. But for everything that Jeep giveth, Jeep also taketh. And that is all these screens and all these, not real button controls. But then they giveth again with both a volume knob and a tuning knob, which is also nice. And then they taketh again by hiding the volume knob, from my point of view, behind the steering wheel. So I'm always kind of fussing for it because I can't see it because it's hiding behind the steering wheel. So Jeep giveth and Jeep taketh. But all in all, I think the biggest taketh is just the price. I always feel like if this was 2 years ago, I would have said that most cars to me seem like they're $10,000 too expensive for what you get. This to me feels like it's $20,000 too expensive. I kind of feel like this should be a $50,000 car. And you know what? Give it a year or two, it probably will be a $50,000 car. The smart move, and I'm sure you're aware of this, is lease it. because the technology keeps improving, the companies get better at building electric cars, the range keeps increasing. When this was charged up to 80%, I think it was around 250 miles of range, so I want to say it's probably just under 300 if you have it charged up to 100%. But in general, by the way, should we tell them where we're at?
Sure.
You want to give the secret away? This is my favorite place in the world to run. We're at Argonne National Laboratories at a place called Waterfall Glen. And I used to come here when I lived here. There's a 9-mile loop you can do as a run around Argonne National Laboratories. It's in the shade, it's on rock, and it's just a spectacular run because there's all kinds of cool stuff you go by. But now it's kind of become known, and look at all the people here, dude. Look at all the, and yesterday I was here just walking, and I could not find a place. I literally could not find a place to park it. It's become that busy. It's such a hidden gem, and now you guys know about it as well. So let's get out and let's wrap this up. I'll give you kind of my final thoughts. Now that I've gotten used to putting it in park, it's not so hard. So let me put it there. And let me tell you what I think. I don't think this is going to be that controversial of a take, Steve, but I kind of feel like a Jeep should be an off-roader. Am I wrong?
No.
I mean, why?
Right.
Why not give it, a better approach angle, give it some knobby tires, give it maybe air suspension or a little bit more ride height, and make this, into more of what the DNA of the brand is, into an off-roader. And I get it. I mean, Stellantis is owned in effect by Europeans to some extent, and they don't quite understand how we use our vehicles. But even if you're here in lovely Chicagoland, my hometown, you feel like there is no off-roading, but you still want that burly, you want that kind of Jeep vibe, and this doesn't have it, and that's probably the most disappointing thing.
So you're not going to be taking this to Moab, Roman?
No, I'll drive it to Moab, but where it turns to red dirt is kind of where this ends.
I got it.
But as an electric car, it's fine. It's just expensive. All right, guys, thank you for watching. Steve, thank you for filming. As always, this is Roman saying, check out alltfl.com for news, views, and real-world reviews. And yes, you want to tell them how we did in our 5K?
We made it.
Yes,
We
you want to tell them what place
survived.
we came in?
We beat almost everyone who was at the end.
Yes, that's right. We weren't quite last, but almost, which is half the fun of it. We'll see you next time. Ciao.